Hi, my name's Cian Oba-Smith. I'm a documentary portrait photographer who predominantly makes work about communities and subcultures that are often misrepresented. I've shot everything from Muslims in Iceland to urban dirt bikers in London, and most recently I made a project about black horsemen in Philadelphia. I first became interested in photography at around 16 when I started studying it as an A-level. I had a really good teacher and she kind of instilled a self-belief in my ability to make good pictures. And from then I went to LCC and did an art foundation, which I hated. So I dropped out after a term. And then I did assisting for a while and went to UE the next year, which is the University of the West of England, to do a degree. And since then, I graduated in 2014 and I've been working as a freelancer and an assistant to Zed Nelson and making my own projects on the side too. I think assisting is a really good way to learn. I'd say especially from a sort of business point of view and a networking point of view. You don't learn that to the same level when you're at university. I think most degree courses are based more around the theory and the practicality of making pictures and not so much about the business of making money from photography. I think also just working with someone like Zed who's so established and has done such a large quantity of good projects, you can learn from his approach to making pictures and how he interacts with people. I'd say that working as an assistant is a really, really good way to learn. I'd say the most important thing is to find a photographer whose work you actually really like and to work with them, because if you don't do that, then it just becomes a money thing and you're not really gaining much knowledge from it. The majority of my work is shot with a Mamiya RZ67, which is a large sort of medium format SLR, and I shoot on a tripod most of the time now, but when I first got it I couldn't afford a tripod, so I shot the entirety of that bike life project handheld. I like using the RZ because it allows me to work in a slower process because it's such a bulky camera, and I just feel like there's a greater depth to it when you're shooting with it. I've always shot on film, so when I did my A-level, the teacher sort of banned us from shooting digital, so we had to shoot film, and she taught us, and we had a dark room. So that kind of is what really sparked my interest in photography, was printing and going in and developing the film myself, and then hand printing it and seeing the print come up in the chemicals. It's weird because when you first start making pictures, you have I think you have more, I don't know if it's the right word, but you kind of rationalise why you do it, and then I think after you've been making them for a few years, it kind of, I don't know if it's an obsession, but it becomes more instinctive, I think. It's not so much about the why, it's more about it feels like you need to do it. Do you not feel like in the last year the reason why you make pictures has changed? Yeah, it's always shifting, isn't it? Because if you're making photographs, it's, as much as it is about the subject, it's about you, and you as a person changes all the time. So the reasoning why you make the work is always going to change. I mean, I'm interested in photography as a way of shaping or changing people's views on certain subject matters. So like with the Horseman project, it was about presenting like the American icon, like the cowboy, in a sort of alternative way. And it was also about showing a less dysfunctional impression of what, well, the media always gives a really dysfunctional impression of black people in America, and it was about showing a much more rounded view of what it means to be black and the black American experience. And I mean, I was driven to do that because of all the stuff going on with the police kind of murdering people in the streets and all the crazy shit going on with Trump. Well, Trump was elected halfway through when I was shooting that project. So I mean, that was the catalyst for that. But I think it's always different depending on the project. I mean, photography in general is a tool for observation and interaction, so I guess it's the way you observe and interact is always going to change depending on what you're making work about. I mean, to be honest, when I make portraits, it's more just, I mean, when I first started, I was really scared to go and ask anyone. It's just one of those things that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And you will get rejected a lot of the time, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Most people are quite polite when you go and ask them, and if they don't want to be photographed, they'll just say, I'm not interested, and that's fine. But yeah, I normally just walk up to them, explain to them what I'm doing, and ask them if it's okay if I could take their portrait.
You stand just here where the paint is. They're filming me, because I'm a photographer, they're filming how I make pictures. But I'll send you the photo. Yeah, there you go. Just look straight into here, yeah? Hold that. Cool. One close-up one of you. You. Why? Because I like the hat, man, it looks cool. There, yeah, perfect. That's good, just hold that. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, hold that. Cool, and then if you look this way, yeah, there you go. Good, just hold that. Cool, save man. What's your Instagram? Go. Cool. Can I take a portrait of you as well? If you guys all just like stop there. Just hold that.
Well, when I'm making work, it's the sort of amount of time and how I approach it it varies depending on what I'm making the work about. So with the Horseman project, I shot that in 2 weeks, but I spent about 1.5 years thinking about it and researching it. And that was partly due to money constraints, because I mean that's always the big thing for people if you're making work. If I had loads of money, I'd be off shooting all the time, but most people can't afford to do that. So it's about kind of prioritizing what you want to make work about and really making the work that you're passionate about. So that was like a year of saving up to go and shoot that project. The Andover project I shot, that was about 1.5 years of shooting, because it's so close to me. It was semi-regular, so I'd go down there whenever I had kind of some free time and make pictures there. The Iceland one with the Muslims, that was shot in about 2 weeks as well. So I think it's when you're abroad, you don't have the luxury of time, so you have to really just ingrain yourself in that community and spend a lot of time getting to know them and photographing them. But when it's kind of close to home, you can really invest a longer period of time. I think one of the ways I built trust was just investing time. So with some of the guys, I photographed them a few times and they saw me there a lot. And I think people just seeing someone in the same space, they become a part of it, and it feels like you're more likely to trust them. I think the fact that I don't look like the archetype of the type of person who would go in there and exploit that community, that works well for me, because I'm young and I'm from London, I'm mixed race, so I look less like an outsider. So I think those things played well for me. But yeah, I think time investment and actually talking to people makes a difference.